it looks like we have our quorum and we're ready to start. So first item on the agenda is Pledge of Allegiance. Stand with us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So to begin, let's start with public comment on the agenda items. Any public comment on any items? Yes, Tony. Yes, please come forward.
I think this falls into the agenda items here. I know the Township's been reviewing zoning ordinances for quite a time, and one thing we didn't discuss was the homeowners associations. They have rules, regulations, a whole bunch of stuff in it, bylaws, the whole things with these communities. And with our local ordinances, the developers can come up and challenge our ordinances. And we witnessed that with the Wrigley LLC, that challenged the ordinance. They felt it was unfair. We modified it and everything. But so Wrigley LLC is the developer. They're going to develop the property. D.H. Horton's going to be the builder of the homes. And then once the homes are in construction, there's a homeowners association that comes into play. It's a mini government within our township government. And again, our zoning ordinance can be challenged. But when you buy a home into the communities, you're set by these rules. Although no one's forced to do it, but they're recommended to read the agreements on that. So those rules can be mandatory, advisory, corrective, and punitive also at the HOAs. They have board of directors, they have architectural review committees, monthly fees, which can be increased by the budget, and a lot of things. But originally I asked if anybody went down and took a tour of Seneca Hills, D.H. Horton townhomes. I don't know if anybody has, have you? No. You should. D.H. Horton down there has a 30-foot driveway. We recommended a 20-foot driveway. We gave in to that. But the D.H. Horton rules, regulations, and HOAs is 147 pages long. Other communities in this area that have HOA communities are anywhere from 50 pages just for rules and regulations on that, and it's very, very strict. So I guess my recommendation here is for the zoning department, you guys, to make our zoning ordinance very specific that they can't be challenged. And so no one's taken a tour of Seneca Hills. It's right down there. I don't know if it's going to be the same product that's going to be built on in this community, but it's worth taking a look at. And do any of you on the committee belong to a homeowners association, and are you an officer? Or?
Yes.
Sure. So you're dealing with a local government down there.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And this is what I'm trying to get at. It's a government within a government now. I don't think, and you can make your rules more restrictive than our zoning ordinances. So if people want to live there, that's fine. it's all voluntary. But I guess what I'm trying to get at, when you look at these HOA associations with 147 pages of rules, restrictions, and things like that, I think we have to take that into consideration on how we approach the ordinances that we're trying to review here. So,
Okay.
thank you.
Any other public comments on the agenda items? Okay.
Okay, this is on Paige Place. I'm sorry, what's that?
I'll reclaim my time.
Has the township engineer or anyone on the planning commission taken the drawings to visit the site to make sure what's physically there and surrounding, matches what's on the drawings? Has anybody done this? I'm gonna take the answer to no since nobody's responding. So I've stated this multiple times over the last year and a half, that there needs to be a right-hand turning lane entering the development heading south on 19. Now, I know it all has to be done and approved by PennDOT, but I think that the planning commission should be recommending this to the board of supervisors, and the board of supervisors need to highly recommend to PennDOT that this needs to be done for safety purposes. Yeah, PennDOT may have went out, looked at it on pictures, may have looked at it for a few minutes on a short site visit, but they're not the ones that drive through it on a daily basis. They don't know what the traffic's like going down through there. When you're reviewing these drawings tonight, make sure, you know, are they gonna reflect the easements for the log cabin to have access to the retention ponds? And yeah, the replace of detention ponds, as well as the 5 extra parking spots in the southern parking lot there on the corner at 19 that were overlapping onto that property as well. Will the planning commission be making any kind of recommendations to the board of supervisors for penalties / job site shutdown if the developer and builders do not follow the rules that they're supposed to be following? Just something to think about. In regards to this whole drawings not matching up things, I got 2 perfectly good examples. One is from phase 1 of Ordinance Woods. It's being done by the same developer as Paige Place. And you will be able to see right here, there's a house trailer on Saltworks, okay? These drawings, that house trailer was removed at least 3 years prior to that. The other buildings back in here were never even shown, the businesses. You know, so this is, to me, this is a whole deception. As you can see, this is the bigger, I just took and blew that up. Okay. This here is from August of 2017 for 3rd phase of Scenic Ridge, okay? They didn't break ground until March 29th, 2018. And what was marked on here is very deceptive. It will make you think, oh, okay, we can pass this through very quickly. And as you will, sorry, Gail, as you will see, right here, it's marked as an exterior barn, and this is marked as an exterior barn. There's never barns on this property. That's a house, this is a business. They removed all these trees and put everything right on the property line. There's not even indicating there's trees there either. And I'll show these gentlemen over here as well. So this is the first phase of Ordinance Woods, 93. That is not there. It was removed at least 3 years before that. There's a house built over here. Okay. So then, here is what I just talked about, phase 3 of Scenic Ridge from August of 17 is withdrawn. Okay. Exterior barn, when in fact it's a business, a house. There's trees missing here. They removed all these trees and built that property that was right on that property line. So by marking these as an exterior barn, Oh, and the soil was gone at least 10, 15 years prior to that, prior to this drawing. So, to me, this is again, this is deceptive. We could pass this through, nobody's going out and looking at it. So that's why I've been pushing this whole time for this stuff to be checked. Because these people here had homeowners their insurance canceled, have had nothing but water and property damage the entire time. So with this guy and this guy down the road. That's why I keep bringing that up. The other thing is, you know what, now I'm not even gonna mess that up, we'll just let that go.
Thanks, Connie. Quickly, Tony.
Right now, the Senate has passed the federal Senate, the 21st Century Road to Housing Act. And I think they want to try to eliminate a lot of red tape for developers. That's the way it looks to me. I don't know how it's going to affect our township. Have you looked into that?
I have not. I know nothing about it.
So I don't know if the federal government can come in and dictate to the local community on what they have to do. So if you can look into that, it's the 21st Century Road to Housing Act. Contact Dave McCartney on that.
Any other comments? Okay.
My name is Tom Beach. I'm here to talk about the development of Paige.
Okay.
And I want to talk specifically about the reports that were compiled, the traffic report, the soil report, and the project report for the action and layout. And for also one of the things, the Planning Commission's survey proposal that they were proposing about a year and a half ago. Let's start with the traffic report. The traffic report was for a 7-day period to show traffic going north and south on 19 in the vicinity of where Paige Place is going to go. On the report, every single day, there was approximately 100 more cars going north than going south every day. Now the question is, I don't know why, but why do we have traffic going north and not going south on this rural road? And we all ended up in Erie and getting a traffic jam up there. But when you look at the traffic report, the proposal for Paige Place says that 2/3 of the traffic coming out of Paige Place is going to go south, and only 1/3 is going to go north. So if the normal traffic flow shows more traffic going north than south, why is Paige Place flipped 2/3 and 1/3? That's something that may be legitimate, but has the Planning Commission, have you guys looked at that and questioned that as to why that's an issue and why Paige Place would have traffic going in the opposite direction than what it appears to be in a normal flow? Second thing is the soil report. The soil report shows that there is a coal vein running through the property. And to level the property, they're going to have to cut into the coal vein, which is going to expose the coal vein and the chemicals and stuff that are in there. Protect the runoff, because Scholar's Run is a warm fishery. It needs to be protected so those chemicals don't get in that fishery and pollute the water. Also, when you build houses, people are going to fertilize the lawn. They're going to put down pesticides, insecticides, and everything else to enhance their lawns. That'll become soluble in the retention ponds. It won't settle out. It stays in the water. That water, when it leaves the retention pond and eventually gets into Scholar's Run, is it going to kill fish? And we studied that, and we looked at it. Did anybody read their report and notice that information? Additionally, the map showing the plot where the houses are going to go I'll make it 25 acres for simple math. The satellite views shows that it's a heavily wooded area, but the reports say it's lightly wooded. I went to government, U.S. government websites, found out how much water does an average tree soak up in a day. You know, it's 100 gallons of water a day for an average tree, full-size tree. If you have just 4 trees per acre, and we know there's more than that when you look at the satellite map, that means 4 times 25 acres is 100 trees. 100 gallons a tree times 100 trees, 10,000 gallons of water a day. That's not going to be soaked up into the atmosphere. It's also going to reduce the canopy, which is going to warm the water in that area, which means the runoff going in the lake into the stream is going to be warmer. Is that going to kill the fish? Plus the fact that once you have all this non-permeable land for the houses, the roads, you're going to have more runoff. Now, retention ponds, according to their survey, the runoff is going to go into Glade Run on the report. Glade Run is south of Zillion. It's not Scholars Run. So the report isn't even correct on whether water is going to go. Has anybody looked at this and reviewed this and come to the conclusion that somebody putting these reports together doesn't know what they're talking about? Additionally, with the soil, back to the soil report, it talks about underneath the coal is mostly limestone and sandstone. You know what limestone and sandstone are good for? You ever lived in Florida? You know what sinkholes are? Back in the report, it says that the land is going to cause stress on the structures because of the limestone underneath. And then going back to the report from the planning commission from a year and a half ago, that land was determined to be only suitable for grazing and farming. It was not recommended for residential housing. So, before you give a final approval on this, I think that you should go back and look at your reports and evaluate the reports and pay attention to what you're reading. Who is reading this? Has anybody read the whole report all the way through? Has anybody analyzed them? Has it done it? I don't think so. Nobody's nodding their heads. So, are we just perfunctory? Oh, they're here, they handed in a bunch of reports, they check their boxes, we pass it on, and it goes forward. I think we need to really review these reports to find out how inadequate this land is for development. You know, you can say, oh, I can put 25 houses on this. Yeah. They're going to create an 80-foot drop to level the land out so they can put the houses on the front side and create a steep bank on the back side. This is not safe, this is not smart, and the land will not be stable because it's there's limestone on the line. And you're just going to dig down closer to the limestone so that the water, when it seeps into the soil, because there's no trees to absorb it, is going to cause more damage. So it's not a safe place to be building. And you guys need to really be looking at this and considering this before you give any approval. Yeah, they may have the permits and the permission to do certain things with changing the roads and the driveway lengths, but that doesn't mean you can build on a sponge just because you get the permits. So I think you need to look at this, review this, and not approve any recommendation at this time until you've gone back and looked at it and decided whether or not this is a smart thing to do. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. Any other public comment on agenda items? Okay, we're going to move then to Planning Commission administrative items. Tom or Bonnie, are there any administrative items we need to be addressing this evening? Okay. Next, you've seen the minutes of the meetings. Let's start with the March 31st minutes. Any comments, corrections to those minutes?
I think I had one correction. I apologize. I took notes for that, sent it to Tom, and it might have been a little confusing, but at that meeting, we did approve preliminary and final for the draft edition, and I don't think that was reported in the minutes, and like I said, that might have been unclear in my notes, but we did approve that during our meeting, and it's not
Okay.
reflected in the
And
minutes. So.
Tom, will you take care of that correction then? Okay. Any other corrections? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve those minutes subject to the correction.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Moving to the Monday, April 6th work session meeting. Any comments or corrections on those minutes?
I move that we approve the minutes.
All right, second? In favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Takes care of the minutes. Next item on the agenda is under new business, Paige Place Development Final Plan. So I think we should probably start with you guys. If I assume you want to tell us something.
Just a little bit, sure.
Okay.
Good evening, everybody. Ed Moore with Chef Fund Company. Just a little update since the last Planning Commission meeting in February. We have received preliminary approval from the Board of Supervisors at their March 19th meeting, contingent upon addressing the February 10th GFT review letter, as well as the March 19th letter from Lancaster Township. We're also in the receipt of a review letter from GFT dated April 23rd. Just for clarification, some of the items listed in the GFT letter dated April 23rd are the same as in the February 10th GFT letter, so there's some overlap there in those review comments. The letter from Lancaster Township and the contingencies from the Board of Supervisors was a snow chute to be included 20 by 20 feet as recommended. We've added this snow chute to the plans. A safety fence to be included around the stormwater facilities. We've added a 4-foot tall chain link fence around the stormwater facilities. And then also to consider a boulevard-style road entrance from the entrance of Paige Place to the first intersection. We've checked into that, and I believe Mr. Thompson has also checked into that, and PennDOT is not receptive to that. So there's no boulevard entrance shown on the plans. PennDOT doesn't want it. These outstanding items listed in the April 23rd letter from GFT are administrative only, and items will be addressed prior to construction. With all this said, we believe we've addressed all the comments which pertain to the plans themselves, and we're here tonight to ask for final plan approval.
I do have a question. On that, when the supervisors asked for the chain link fence, did they specify a 4-foot fence or just a fence?
I think 4 foot's in the ordinance. Okay.
Any other comments on your side?
No, that's all I have.
Okay. Tom, any additions? Anything
The only
else?
other question, I guess, though, the other outstanding item is the actual HOT from PennDOT. Have you received that yet?
We have not yet.
Have you indicated where they are in that process?
Mike Haberman with Gateway is the traffic engineer for the project, and he might be able to speak a little more on just exactly what happened.
Yeah, my favorite.
I've talked to you, Mike, and I've never actually met you, I don't think. So,
You've probably seen my name on a bunch of graphics.
yes.
We are literally at the finish line with PennDOT, so the plans have been reviewed multiple times. From a plan and design standpoint, they're complete. The developer has provided his letter of credit and security to PennDOT just as of this week, and there are a couple of administrative sign-offs that we're working through. When we get those and submit all of that documentation to PennDOT, we expect permit to be issued.
Any anticipated guesses to date? How long?
Once we get all of the documents that need signed and submitted, their turnaround time is 30 days, but in this district, when it's at this point, it's usually 2 or 3 weeks. So, you know, if we were to submit by the end of this week or next week, we would have it probably in the middle of May.
Okay. Sure, why don't you talk about the turn lane?
From the standpoint of traffic, so the right turn lane, there's long established criteria that has evolved over time. PennDOT actually just recently came out with some new publications and updated publications earlier this year. Those criteria spell out analyses you have to perform to determine whether or not you need turn lanes, left turn lanes or right turn lanes. We call them warrants. Technically, they don't call them warrants. They're called guidelines for the consideration of the installation of auxiliary turn lanes. So even if you reach those guidelines or you reach those thresholds, you're not necessarily required to put it in. You're supposed to start to consider it amongst other factors. In this particular case, with the volumes that are on 19, with the speeds that goes, so the speed of the road goes into play, the volume of traffic goes into play, the percentage of turns, number of turns comes into play, all of those factors come into play. The right turn lane consideration or warrants, they're not met. They're not even marginally met. So sometimes you can kind of get close to that threshold and you start looking at maybe some other factors. It's so far below the line that even if I took every car that was coming to the site and made them turn right into the site, I'm not going to reach that minimum threshold. So the right turn lane is not warranted. Now in the opposite direction, with the northbound left turn lane, they are warranted, which is why we're going the left turn lane, even though the volume's not high, because when you take into account the speeds, when you take into account the volume coming the other direction, if a car is sitting on 19 in the through lane without a left turn lane decision, waiting for a gap, that does become a little bit of a hazardous situation. Different from a right turn lane, where you're coming southbound and turning right, where you don't have to stop or wait for a gap. You certainly have to slow down when you turn, but you would never be sitting in the middle of 19 with potentially 55-mile-per-hour traffic coming up behind you like you would with the left turn lane. So we certainly identified that we met those thresholds, and that was a recommendation in the study, and we designed it. The right turn lane is not warranted. I want to touch on the volumes. I just took a look at them when the gentleman spoke about it. So for the entire day, the data we collected over a week period, the average volume northbound and southbound was, I think one was like 2,990 and the other one was 2,920. So it was basically the same. There was a slight difference. What we're specifically looking at is peak times, that highest hour in the morning, the highest hour in the evening, when people are leaving for work or to go to school or coming back. When you look at those individual hours, for example, in the morning, the southbound 1 hour volume in the morning is about 300 vehicles. The northbound 1 hour volume in the morning is about 100 vehicles. So 2/3 of the traffic is headed southbound in that 1 hour in the morning. And it's the opposite in the evening. So when you're coming home, 2/3 are coming from the south. In the morning, 2/3 are going to the south. That's your kind of your commuter type traffic. So those are the volumes we projected and mirrored.
No. We're not taking comments now. You had your comment period earlier.
And then, like, I guess the last thing I would say is, these aren't just arbitrary. There's a lot of data. I've been doing these for 25 years. I look at all the data. I know the data. We prepare the data. We make our recommendations. And it doesn't just, that's not the end of it. Tom and his group review it. They review the same data, the same analysis. They ask questions. We answer them. PennDOT's group, it's their road. They have the same questions, same concerns. We answer those questions. So we've gone through that entire process of all the review. It's not just we submit a report and everybody says it is what it is.
Okay. Any other questions?
No, he answered the question I was going to ask.
Okay. Thank you. Well, while we have experts here, if I could ask Ryan to address some of the stormwater concerns, especially even related to the calculation of how much more stormwater is going to go into the runoff versus what the trees soak up, kind of. If you could talk at all towards any of that kind of.
Yeah, so I took an analysis of the site in pre-development versus post-development. So all wooded area, that type of area has a certain runoff coefficient that gets to my point of analysis, which is the scholars run at the southern part of the park property. Then we take the impervious areas, open space, and then like the slopes 2-to-1 areas that become meadow, and that creates a higher runoff value. That gets run through our bases, and due to the size, infiltration rate, we get a certain number of volume credits to meet from the pre-development versus post-development difference. And then on the rate side of things, we set our orifices and our elevations and our basements to accommodate the post-development flows to be less than pre-development flows on the plans on Scholars Run. So through our analysis on review, the rate post-development is less than pre for 1 to 100-year storms. And our volume credits and our water quality is met as well via the DEP spreadsheet.
Okay. Any other questions related to that?
Just,
There's no blade run?
That was a minor oversight. The Scholars Run was throughout the entire report. There was just one instance that it was Blade Run, which has been fixed. So.
Other comments, questions, concerns there?
what,
Go ahead.
oh, okay. The saying about, you know, and I've not walked into the property, just going up 19, looking at it. Has the property ever been logged? And if it was, how long ago?
That I don't know.
You know how?
It's never been long because it's not connected.
Will it be logged before you start in there, or is it the trees are basically, you'll just be pushed?
The plan is to clear it for the plans. We plan on going the basins below first. So we'll clear a path down to there and clear the area for the basins.
The reason I ask is little trees don't take as much water as big trees.
Yeah,
So
sure.
just,
But that's what the basins are designed for, is both their sediment basins, so when we're clearing, it's all muddy and gross. You know, it properly will do water and let the sediment flow to the bottom. And then when it's converted into a post-construction stormwater basin, that'll be able to handle the runoff and the volume and the rate for the removal of the trees. That's why these basins are so big nowadays.
yeah. No, I guess, like I said, I haven't walked in it, but looking from 19, it doesn't look like it's a woods that somebody come in and lumber out. It looks like it's more scrub lumber, I guess I'll call scrub trees.
Per the one gentleman's comment, are you aware of a coal seam that's going to be?
I'm not aware of, I don't know, it's an engineering.
Now, like he mentioned, we hired a geotechnical engineer, professional engineer, to do a geotechnical report for us. There will also be a geotechnical engineer on site in case anything like that comes up. He'll be there to address it, make recommendations, and to fix while he's on site. I don't have the report in front of me, I didn't memorize it, so I'm not aware of the coal seam. So.
And that would came up in our review with our NPDS permit, and they said anything.
Yeah, typically during the geotech and when he's on site, he'll identify if there's coal, he'll identify if it's carbonaceous shale or any other kinds of issues, and they'll be dealt with. They'll have to be dealt with, you know, per standards.
They ran test holes and they said it was cold. It's in the report.
That's fine. Other questions, comments related to stormwater? I have a few comments in the plan, and Harold, I'll tell you right up front, I still love you. It's not going to be too painful here, but I do have a few comments. One, on the plan, I'm seeing on the ENS plans, let's see if we can go to the page, doesn't much matter. ENS2 has it on it. Yeah, ENS2 is probably a good one to look at. Or ES2, I should say. ES2 has a channel beside the road to the access pond, between the road and the Toa slope. And that's shown throughout on all the ENS pages. But that channel does not exist on the actual excavation pages.
So that is only for ENS. That's why I don't show up on that. They're going to fill that in.
Really?
Yeah, because
why?
I don't, didn't we talk about this last time?
We have mentioned it because you had mentioned a comment that you were going to add it, and I see it's on the ENS.
Yeah, that
but
was.
Why wouldn't you keep it?
It was just to direct that muddy runoff from that newly built 2-to-1 slope. Once that grows up, there's no real need.
I would argue that there is a need, because I would argue what's going to happen is you're going to wash your 2A limestone into the pond that's on the road, or the number 59s or whatever into the pond, because you're going to get some channeling of water that's going to naturally occur. And personally, if you're filling it in, personally, what I would recommend to do is instead of just filling it in and grassing it, I'd throw some like number 4 riprap in it and have some channel there that at least can filter the water so it's not getting and washing the stone from the access road in. But I see it's there for the ENS, which is good because that protects the southern properties, which is fine. I would just highly recommend not destroying the channel when it's done. Actually having something there permanent so you don't wash the road into the pond when you've got these gully washers.
I think the line, I don't know the line off the top of my head, but I think it was sized for the drainage area coming up that slope. I didn't think it had to be riprap.
I'm just saying something, but whatever. So you actually have in the channel design, in the ENS plans, you're doing more than just a channel, it's actually got some stone of some kind in it?
It would have a line.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it should be on the detail page of the vegetative line.
I didn't go to that level of
Okay.
detail when I was looking at it, sorry.
That's okay. If it's not my fault, I can label it.
Okay. That was one minor thing there, is the one. Next one, your access road eventually comes onto Route 19. Is PennDOT okay with that?
Oh,
The basin emergency access or maintenance access road?
yeah, we vetted that with them.
And they're okay? They're okay with that? Obviously, it's not going to be any real traffic. It's just, did they allow that cut to the road essentially?
That's part of the overall plan.
Okay. ENS shows construction in 2 phases. The application that I saw showed 1 phase. Not that this is a huge deal, because you could obviously merge the 2, but it looked like the original ENS plans were designed as doing 1 road with a cul-de-sac near the gazebo and a temporary turnaround, and then later coming and doing the cut fill on the upper road that then continues that loop.
So the way we've been doing our ENS plans now with the conservation district is they like to see kind of a phased approach in the sense of construction, not necessarily like go out of the houses. So they have kind of been confused of like, oh, if I just show the basin and I just show mass grade, well, how does mass grade come into effect for the lots on the low side? So it's just kind of a visual representation of how we plan to build out the fills and then finally connect the loop.
But are you planning to do the cut and fill excavation as 1 phase?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Because then you'll balance dirt easier than you would trying to guess at a balance after you got the little road in already. It makes it much more difficult. Okay. And then the ENS controls that I'm seeing in the intermediate and final phases then would then be applied appropriately as you're in those construction phases. Okay. Okay, I'm good with that. Then I do have, this one might sound petty, but it's something I would like Ed to fix. The sidewalk crossing, hold on a second. Let's see, C200, let's look at that page. This is a question for us and you guys as well. I'm not seeing any sidewalk crossing from the inner circle to the outside. I think that there should be some connection, probably in the area of 111 to 112. Put some kind of a sidewalk crossing right through there. Probably ADA as well. Then I have, and then another question is, should there be a sidewalk crossing somewhere near the gazebo end of the world? Because you've got that trail running up through the woods. So you take the inside loop to the outside with some kind of a crossing. Maybe straight across from the sidewalks where the benches are, maybe straight across from the pergola seating area, something like that. And get something to connect your inside and outside loops where people would likely try to travel through there. Thoughts, comments?
Simple enough.
Yeah, exactly. These are simple things. These are real simple things. Then, next one is pet peeve of mine. C200. ADA. The ADA crossing you show at the entry off of Route 19 is actually not very good. Here's why. What you've got drawn, and this again shows on C200, You come up with a sidewalk, you're 45 into basically hitting perpendicular to the radius of the curb coming, and then you go straight across and then 45 again back in. You'll never get an ADA to work there unless you do one of three things. One, to meet ADA requirements, you would need to then put your dimple mat perpendicular to the curb, come across and have a 4-foot level spot in the cartway at the edge of the curb, so that there's a turning position there for a wheelchair to then go straight across, and do the same thing on the opposite side. It's a bad idea because you don't want to put a 4-foot turning spot, wheelchair turning spot at the base of the curb in the cartway. My recommendation is one of two other possibilities. One, forget the 45, bring the sidewalk straight up. Dimple mats need to align straight across from each other. So you set the dimple mats straight across from each other, and you paint your curb in between. Now, that's going to get you a 5-foot sidewalk with a 4-foot dimple mat, which meets your 6-inch requirements on each side. It's a max of 6 inch on each side of the dimple mat. Get your dimple mats aligned straight across, and all is good. That's one recommendation. The disadvantage of that approach is that you've got a longer distance from back of curb to dimple mat. You've got like here, tapering down to here. Some people don't like that. The other option is pull the ADA crossing back to before the radius and do your crossing, back another 20 feet into the plan and go straight across there where your dimple mats are perpendicular to the curb, your sidewalk, your paint strip is all straight across. It's all nice and simple. Either of those two approaches, you'll meet ADA with no problem. Doing what you've drawn, just a bad idea. If someone's really pushing ADA, you're going to fail with trying to do it the way you've drawn it. Again, simple thing to change. Just ADA has been a pet peeve of mine because I've been burned on it too many times. So, I did have one other comment then. Have there been discussions with the pond for the log cabin stormwater pond and any kind of an access to that? I know that they've shown us plans. They've been talking about having talked or thinking about, I don't know if they've talked or if they were just thinking about talking. I don't know where it stands. I'm just trying to get, where does it stand? Have they talked to you guys at all, Don?
Yeah.
Paige, you can answer that.
Or we met with them.
Yeah.
Why do you explain that? Why can you do it?
Is this your daughter?
Yes.
Good to meet you.
We did speak with Ben from the log cabin, and we are willing to work with them. And I know that they at the last meeting spoke a bit about that as well.
Okay. So what will end up occurring there then is obviously they would then have to do some kind of a revised plan here, or at least an easement of some description to manage to pull that off. I was hoping they would talk to you ahead of time, and that would have been included here, but that's not your problem. That's clearly not your problem. I wish they had their act together enough to make that happen.
Right, there's a delay, then I guess my request would be, maybe before you issue your construction drawings, if that's resolved by then, that you add it to your construction drawings and your as-bills. So at least we have it, and it would be recorded in the courthouse regardless. At least then we have something on paper to show it.
Actually, what I told them is that I have no problem working with you. Whatever you want to do is fine, as long as the township approves it, and it doesn't impact my approval in any way, shape, or form of record.
Correct, because I'm asking.
I don't want to have to hold my approval up.
Agreed.
Get this construction drawing put on my plan for him to get approved.
Agreed. This is not your problem. It's not on your shoulders. I'm asking it to say, was there some progress made here? It has no impact on our recommendation one way or another as to how you move forward.
We totally given us access as long as it didn't impact us and it was approved by the township.
So there's two things. There's the access for their stormwater maintenance, and then I believe they've got part of their parking lot is on this property too, so some kind of an easement for that, I assume.
Five spaces, yeah. Correct.
Okay.
And is there a linkage, is there a walking trail that's going to connect? I don't see that.
Yeah, it's on, in there.
Yeah,
That's
it's on
it
here.
right there, isn't
It's
it?
on C200, it's shown in theirs as well.
When they show their access drive down to the pond, I think it's going to impact the walking trail, so the walking trail will become part of their access drive.
That was my assumption would be the smart move. Take that first stretch and do double duty with them, yeah. Yeah, okay. That was the extent of my minor issues. They're non-impactful, they're easy pencil, or easy computer changes and you're done. Comments, questions from any of the board to anybody out there?
I mean, my question before involved the right turn lane, and having him explain that better makes more sense to me. So, if it's that low below the threshold, so.
We talked about getting, separately getting a recommendation potentially lower the speed limit. Maybe.
But that's not them,
That's not on them.
No,
If we choose, if we choose to, or we meaning the township choose to pursue that with the state,
we can do that.
that's independent
It's
of
a
that.
separate issue.
So there's no other questions or concerns, I would entertain a motion.
Before you jump into that,
Okay.
I think I asked you this before. Again, what did you base your existing data on? What did you use to create your existing data plan?
For the survey,
Yes.
yeah, we used aerial imaging, and we sent a survey crew out to verify points around the site. So we've had survey crews on the property to verify exactly what's out there.
And did you survey the perimeter of the property?
I believe we did, yes. We set the property corners and then we verified the topo as well.
And I guess on the ADA, and again, I maybe sympathize with Bob, I don't like ADAs at all. But because of the way that the road system is, to me, it would be nice to have one over at the gazebo going over the parking lot and having that as your, I'll say, as your main access from the trail down, crossing the road and going in, just because I think the amount of traffic in that location would probably be the minimal amount of traffic that you would have. And I guess I was thinking at the entrance, potentially eliminating the cross and moving that down further, either at the intersection of the road to cross over, to get it away from 19, just because I think that you're gonna have a lot of cars coming in, and to me, having that painted and the maintenance of that aspect versus having it further down might make more sense.
Okay, I suggest we do this. How about Ed and Tom come here, let's pencil something right on a plan as to what people are gonna agree on. Let's put the ADA sidewalks right here now and be done with it.
Did you want it closer to the first intersection?
Yeah, that's what
That's what I was thinking.
you're thinking way down here. Okay.
Yeah.
I was saying even in here, but if you wanna move it down, I don't object. I just wanna, let's get it on paper.
Yeah, just tell
So
me what
you
to
know,
draw.
you know what to draw. What are
I
people gonna-
like it down closer to the intersection.
I just think it makes it easier if you're going, I'm not sure if you.
Not that you have to run up.
But I mean, that's gonna be a high.
The only thing I don't like about where you're proposing, Tom, is where's it gonna hit on the other side? You've got driveways everywhere there.
You do.
Hit a flat spot, because you're gonna hit a flat spot where you hit the intersection, where you hit that
Correct,
sidewalk.
that's the downside to that, either.
I'm not a fan of that.
Just below the intersection where there is an open spot.
Do it on this side of the intersection.
Yeah.
You're between buildings.
Yes.
That I could live with. So you're saying put the ADA between buildings 101 and 102 coming straight across.
Yes.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
And then remove the one at 19. That's what you're saying, okay? And then you're proposing add one at the gazebo.
I would say the gazebo area.
Straight-
makes sense.
Yeah, straight across from the gazebo there probably.
Straight across.
Does that make sense to you, Ed?
Yep, got it.
Do one right there.
And what makes that to me easier is that those are, I'll call it the open space, so usually the developer will do those, so they have control over the height of that sidewalk as opposed to the road, so it's not gonna be too high, they can make the transition easier as opposed to trying to get the homeowner.
Oh, I agree.
Set that after the fact. So I
Those are
think-
much, much better locations because you can level out the thing for the appropriate handicap turn, all that kind of stuff. yes, I like those spots. And the developer's agreeable to those changes, I assume?
Yes.
Okay.
Tom, did you check with PennDOT too on the boulevard?
I did, again, the thresholds aren't there, they're considering this to be a low volume driveway. We had discussion that there were other developments south of us that had boulevard style, those are medium volume driveways, and I passed that out to you as the PennDOT standard for medium doesn't include that or entrances, so that's sort of the threshold that we have.
So they weren't anti-boulevard, you have to meet a certain.
You have to meet a certain volume. I also did look at Old Dominion's plans, their peak AM, peak PMs were slightly higher than Paige Place, and again, it wasn't warranted there for any right turn lanes incoming in or any other configuration when they did their traffic study, which was done by somebody else. So it's a separate study done on the same property with a similar result coming in, so I didn't see any issues with that. So, and to me, it would be nice if the gravel drive going to the log cabin in towards the gazebo area was in an area that was pretty compacted, because to me that could be your emergency access, because it's going to be gravel and 6 feet wide, especially if log cabin ends up using it as their access. To me, that would provide your secondary access if you had an issue.
Wait a minute, one more time? That access is only gonna go to the pond.
Well, it's going to go to the pond, but theirs goes to the gazebo, so to me, they could combine those as it comes down to an extent and join those in. It would be nice if we had that as an emergency feature.
I'm still lost. Using the entire walking trail as a,
Or the entrance, depending on where they place the entrance to their stormwater, between the two of them, it would be nice to have access. I know the fire department has utility vehicle that they could drive on that access road. It'd be nice to have a little bit bigger vehicle if we could. I think that's really the concern, if you had accident or something at the entrance, that could be a way to get at least some vehicles down there if you need somebody to transport out or something.
You have to climb up.
It is. So just something to consider. I mean, it's there, so whenever those detailed plans are done for that access for the development, to see that up, if it works.
okay.
That's all that I had.
Does our solicitor have any comments or suggestions, questions?
No further comments from me.
Okay. Don Graham, you have any?
The only thing I want to say is this issue of the timing of the highway occupancy permit in relation to the approval by the township. I think that both your ordinance and case law is very clear that the appropriate action is to approve grant the approval conditioned on the highway.
Agreed.
Permit being issued, not delaying that.
Correct. You're correct. This is any approval we would give tonight would be conditioned on these couple minor plan changes, the administrative items, bonding, developer, that kind of stuff, and the HOP, and any other. You've already got your NPDES, correct? Yeah. So it's not conditioned on the NPDES.
It's all the administrative items.
Yeah. Standard administrative, the HOP would be one of those. So if there's no other questions, I would entertain a motion contingent upon what we said there in terms of sidewalk revisions, HOP, eventually getting done. Yeah. So Tom will write that up, but I'd entertain that motion from somebody.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, I'd like to do this vote with show of hands. All those in favor of recommending this for approval to the supervisors, raise hands. Record shows 5, obviously 0 opposed. Any other comments? Any other comments? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we'll give them a minute here to.
We'll come back here for us to see if there's a final.
No, this was.
This was for the
Supervisors, not the sign.
Okay. I didn't know if we had to wait till we got
We're
these
done
other
with this
things.
plan. Okay. Okay, so moving on.
Okay.
We're going to old business at this point. The only item on old business that we're going to tackle tonight is we're going to, Connie, could I have you move? Okay. Okay, so moving on, the only item in the old business we're going to tackle tonight is a review of the edits on the Ingress-Egress SALDO section. First of all, Tom and Bonnie, is it my understanding that the supervisors have directed us to have a standalone Ingress-Egress ordinance? Okay, so then the only thing we're going to do tonight then is we'll get the language, make sure we're consistent with the language we want in what would be either a standalone or a SALDO section.
I will say that I believe they are looking for your final version so that it can go to them at the next meeting, so that they can choose to then send it to the county.
Okay. Okay. So in light of that,
So in essence, as a standalone, okay?
Potentially.
Because we would only have that.
correct, yes. The language would be consistent in either one. It's the wrapper around it that makes it a standalone. But that's already been there. That's all boilerplate stuff.
I understand. I just want to clarify. They haven't directed us to, but we're going to give them a standalone document for them to look at.
Yeah.
They haven't voted on it, but they have expressed interest that we do it.
Correct. But I think moving forward, we do need to be in a position that that's actually, if they have a directive, that should be a voted directive to us.
Yeah.
So we're a little bit out of sync here on this one. When is the supervisor's meeting?
There's a workshop the second Monday and the regular meeting on the third Monday, so.
Okay. Okay. So in any event, today Tom sent around the version that he had, and then subsequent to that, I also got the version that Dave had. Now, they disagree a bit. Do people have these in front of them by any chance?
I just got it up here on my computer, yeah. You printed it.
Is that solicitor?
No, I need it.
Look at the Tom version.
Is Tom's the first version?
I don't
Like
know.
when you open it up?
Tom's is the one that came from Tom. So.
And that's just Tom's version? The other version's not?
Tom's has comments.
Okay, got it.
The other one does not. So the first question would be, and I know we're putting in the spot, what I'll do is give you a
Say
heads
Tom's
up.
comments on here in red.
You can review the legalese. The legalese is sort of boilerplate that we're not going to talk about. We'll talk about content here and come back to you. Sure. So then moving on to the second page of that, this is where the content starts. Tom's version, we had talked about from last time, scratching under A2, traffic congestion.
Yes.
Dave's version does not scratch.
Correct. I noticed that.
Does not scratch. I'm a fan of scratching it. I have a difficult time. 40 homes. You actually heard what they're talking. Paige Place. How many units?
124.
124 is considered low volume. 40 is low volume. It's way less, and they're not requiring any kind of secondary access, boulevard, anything at 125. And we're putting in here that we have traffic congestion at 40. That's a huge stretch. So I'm a fan of, yes, we move that, and I think 40 is still, 40 is a number that if pushed, we're gonna have a tough time justifying if someone has a legitimate beef with it, yeah.
You know, the other thing is, we're just summarizing the risks. You know, it's not, there's no import here to a regulation or anything.
What's that?
A2 is just summarizing potential risks.
It is, but what I'm saying is, I think
I agree with-
legally
I
someone
agree
can
with you.
come and argue there is not traffic congestion at 40 homes.
Okay.
And your ordinance is just bogus if you're gonna claim that that's the reason you did it.
No, I
So-
agree with you. The section's just kind of a premeditation on why we need this. So
Understood.
if we say something and it's not correct, then someone can argue that it's not legitimate. So I'm with you.
So we're in agreement scratching that. The next item that differed was, actually the only other item that really differed, is a single access limitation in C1. Tom, let's see. Let me read that again.
The section that I added was in the original ordinance revision that we did.
Okay. Yeah. With the SALDO.
With the SALDO.
Yeah, I think Dave's just didn't have, Dave's was pre these edits, I think old edits, if I'm looking at it now. And I like the edit, the way you have it there.
I think we
It's
spent a
consistent,
lot
that's
of
what we
time
talked
on
about,
that.
yeah, that's what we talked about, it's consistent, and I like that as our edit, so accepting that. And then you also made those changes in D1. That we removed the provision of compliant, and we just have with all the secondary access, which I think is clean.
Yeah.
So those were the only changes, they're all reflected in here. Does our solicitor have any comment on any boilerplate?
Yeah, I mean, I think that in talking to Michelle, I knew we were gonna discuss this, and our office still needs to review this ordinance for its compatibility, if it is going to be a standalone with the existing SALDO, and make sure that we're not creating inconsistencies if it were to be a standalone. As far as the boilerplate whereas clauses go, there's a few other minor things that you would add, such as time and placement of legal ads, for the text amendment to the zoning ordinance or SALDO. You could add a date, when the public hearing was held, but generally these are consistent with what you typically find.
I think our solicitor in our workshop was saying it's okay to have standalone.
Yeah, you certainly can. There's no doubt about that. You just want to ensure consistency between the two.
Yeah.
So what happens if, like a Paige Place, you don't have site distance to put a second entrance in? What happens then? Can you deny the subdivision because of that, or I guess what latitude is there moving forward to protect the township so that somebody, developer, doesn't say, hey, this doesn't apply to hardship that this doesn't apply to? Like, what do you do in that case?
You would probably need to write a provision into this that addresses that, or, I mean, if it's absent, it could be a grounds for denial, but they can certainly challenge it. And put you to the test a little bit on it. Yeah, I think that you'd want to address that. I don't know if that would be the sole grounds that you could deny the development.
Okay, let's go back over that again. So you're saying if there's
So,
not.
for example, the Paige Place, we did this, we actually had a development in a different township where they had two roads coming out onto a state road, potentially. There was one connected, one stopped short in the cul-de-sac. And the municipality wanted them to connect that road, so there was two entrances. PennDOT refused, saying it was a safety hazard to have the second entrance because it was close to the first entrance and they wouldn't allow it. So if a Paige Place came about and say our new ordinance is in place, I'm looking at how do you protect the township from having someone challenge it and toss it, and then all of a sudden we've created something that isn't
enforceable, what PennDOT says you can, but you have said you must. And that's where you'd be susceptible to a challenge.
Agreed. So how do you?
Put the provision in there that matches PennDOT.
Well, but again, it could be,
It could be Scott Ridge Road.
it could be the same thing if it's
Whitestown
places
Road.
on Scott Ridge, and you have an issue where it's a safety concern that you're creating, you can do it. You know, I guess the question is, you know, what wiggle room does the township have to make sure it's protected? We want safety for the township, we want safety for the roads, but we also want, you know, dual access for the developments. You know,
Don't we have a provision in C that the developer can request a variance? And if we find that it's a safety, or the PennDOT is rejecting something.
correct. The way it was written is a request of variance due to topography, hardship, no access to other material or collector roads or insufficient frontage. I mean, if that's enough to cover that, then I think we're okay.
Yeah, they do request a modification, but I think in terms of the grounds for denial, if you're requiring somebody to have a second means of access, PennDOT says you can, and then you look to deny, that's when you'd be susceptible to challenge. But I think that it can be addressed through a variance or modification as part of the application process. But then again, do you want to create a situation where, I don't know how foreseeable this would be, that there would be instances where two streets would be deemed unsafe, but you'd be creating a continuous flow of modification or variance requests because of the ordinance. Something to consider.
How many feet is line of sight that you want, I don't know, coming out on a street?
It depends on what the speed limit is, ideally, so you'd have to calculate that. But again, PennDOT, the township references the PennDOT standard, which says based on the speed, based on the slope of the road, it is calculated based on point.
Okay, so there's no standard that it's gotta be 500 feet. It could be.
There are some standards. There's an old PennDOT standard that says that it's 45 miles an hour, and your slope is this, it's 350 feet, 400 feet is probably that standard based on.
It's in that land use sentence, right? I was reading through a little bit, where it has
To an extent.
general guidelines for the site distance and speed limits. It's in that land use sentence. So.
But again, we typically want to use the formula because there's not, you know, you can be close enough to the percentage, but I'll look at it.
Yeah, 495 for a 55-mile-an-hour. That's Chuck.
Is most of the township, like Scott Ridge is, I believe, 45 miles. Whitestown, probably 45 too.
It's probably 45. I drive it every day, but I don't know. I think it's 45.
We actually got a light now flashing on Scott Ridge Road telling you how fast you're going.
So is there any other questions on it?
Well,
I was going to bring up a point of the conflicts that we have with the ordinance that pertains to this section.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
So currently in the SALDO, it says normally only one street shall be permitted from the subdivision onto an arterial or collector street. Or arterial streets may be permitted if they improve the traffic circulation and safety. So I don't know if that section would need to be revised because we're sort of saying that normally you're only allowed one. And again, we may want to revise that section or put PennDOT criteria with medium volume, so many trips, and if it's above 750 trips, then it may warrant something like that. So, on a 40, unit subdivision, you're not going to get 750 trips. It'll be well below that. So, it'll definitely be a low volume criteria. So,
I'm struggling with the 40. I think we're just opening ourselves up to all kinds of challenges or all kinds of waivers. One or the other. Because I've got numerous developments of 100 units apiece that have one access. And they are not an issue. They never have been an issue. And here we're saying 40. I'm struggling with that.
What's the number that you?
Well, I think the number is in the 100 range. problem is, any number we pick is gonna be arbitrary.
Well,
Unless
you gotta depend on median volume, it's 750, and then you use the ITT model that says based on single family homes, do the math, and it'll work out to X.
do you have any idea what it works out to?
I think it's 0.97 trips per house for residential.
So one trip per house, basically.
Yeah, so, you know, at 750,
That's a big number.
that's a huge number. So that's what I mean,
Wow.
now that's trips one way, so you essentially take that in
Double
half.
it.
So you'd be trips in, trips out, so you take that in two, so. it
You're
drops
still at
some.
350 or 375
You're probably
houses
talking
in a development. Wow, it's
somewhere around 150 is probably your low number. It depends, again, the ITT based on what the development is. So if it's townhomes, then it actually drops it because they don't count all of those trips, whereas a house is the most. So it would probably be 120 to 150 homes is that number.
You know, I just looked online just to add the fire code side of this. The International Fire Code is generally in conjunction with your trips and stuff, but for 1 or 2 family dwellings, a second access road is generally required when the development exceeds 30 dwelling units, single family homes, on a single road.
And where is this coming from?
The International Fire Code, and how it impinges on zoning requirements. But it can be increased up to 100 plus homes, like you said, if there are sprinkler systems in the homes. Obviously, the low fire risk hazard, but.
Is that referencing it to be a secondary access road
Yes.
for public?
A second access road is generally required.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure if it was just an emergency access road that would be.
Second access road. And obviously, if it goes through a wetland or something, it says we can have fewer, but, we talked about 40 for a long time, didn't we?
We have.
Well, I think I'm kind of starting to agree with what you're saying, is that we're kind of picking an arbitrary number.
We are.
And we need to have more data before we can actually do something that's going to be enforceable without us having issues.
I'd rather hang out having some number that someone else has already generated as a basis for it than arbitrary.
Nearby townships have any numbers?
Hardly any townships
Even
have
does it.
required for a second access. So
Yeah.
that makes it tough.
Yeah, I'm hearing more and more of it from different friends at different communities that they're discussing that they want a second access to these developments. Like in New Swiftly, Franklin Township, those places are all discussing second entrances for the safety factor.
I think Michelle had mentioned that a couple that she knew of were increasing their numbers because they were too low.
And what numbers do they have?
I don't know, but I think it seemed to me that it was 80, 90, somewhere in that range, but I think we could probably gather that intel.
Yes.
But again, you're right, it would be nice to hang your hat on a number that's, you have a basis for it.
Jackson Township has, their second access road requirements are more than 5 units per lot. I don't know what that means.
I don't know what that means.
more than 5 units per lot or per acre? Per lot. Per acre, so it makes more sense than per lot.
Yeah.
Wonder if that's a.
I'm wondering if that's actually, hold on a second. Is that talking like an apartment building with emergency access?
Yeah.
Like a 5-unit apartment building? That's probably what that's talking about. You need a second.
Maybe we should research a few of those and put, revisit the number.
The core here is good. We have to be careful that we're not writing an ordinance that's intentionally designed to limit development. Because we'll get crucified if we do that. And to hang our hat on a real number would be much better than picking something out of thin air.
Is there a way to get some more data before our next workshop is next week, right? It's within 2 weeks, right?
It's next Tuesday. isn't
Yeah,
it?
it's next
It's
Tuesday.
before the planning commission would have their workshop, so we'd be able to, I mean, the supervisor would have.
Yeah, but we can't vote, so we
No.
couldn't make a recommendation next time.
But they're not technically asking for it.
They're not.
So, I mean,
So
we could have our
we don't
data.
actually have,
Right.
we don't actually have.
So we could share with them what we found next week if we come up with a number and let them know, and then if they ask for an actual submission, then we go down to our next meeting, and then they have it. So,
I'd feel more comfortable with that.
I do now that you're talking about it more, I just.
Get a real number.
I don't want to deal with lawsuits left and right.
So beyond the 40, if we have a real calculable number, is there any other changes that we think need to occur to this, other than if you need some boilerplate stuff?
Yeah, we just need to take a look at, we make sure it's consistent once we have the final, what language you guys would like to include in, just make sure it's consistent.
Could we direct you to actually look at what we currently have, ignore the number, because the number is irrelevant? Compare that, if there's any conflicts in any other sections of the ordinance that we have to go and address. Because if you could do that in parallel with us working on a number, then between the workshop next week and the final meeting a month from now, we could then have a real something to hand on. And by then, we would actually have a real directive. Hopefully. If they, maybe not, maybe they don't want a real directive, we'll find that out.
The access management design overlay was intended that you limit accesses to Route 19. So if you had multiple developments, that you didn't have multiple entrances. So that's the other conflict with this section. Because unfortunately, it would handle the whole Route 19 corridor.
I remember that proposed, that's one,
Right.
that was like a skinny access.
They put access is all they have. But again, that's.
Just like a driveway, that was it.
Right. The downside of that ordinance was you didn't want a lot of road cuts because you want to keep the safety down. So again, that's something that needs to be looked at is how does this fold into that to see if it's, I mean, if it's on Whitestown, if it's somewhere else outside of that district, it's not an issue. But if it's in Route 19, the question is how does that conflict?
You could also put something in here that, to the extent that PennDOT would offer an opinion about the safety of the secondary road. And if it's proven in the case like, Paige Place, that the secondary road would not be safer, then that could.
I actually like something like that. That, can you write something? Can you give us a paragraph that would be inserted here?
Yeah, we could do something like
Yeah, I think that would be excellent. I think that'd make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Not yet. We'll get to public comment. I'm trying to be fair across the board with these things. Apply the laws uniformly. Any other comments on this then? Because otherwise, I think we're going to call it quits here. And
So Cranberry does not provide an explicit X number of units for mandates of second access, but they use an acreage coverage and units per acre. It's kind of definitional.
so what do they say?
They say large developments, 14 to 17 units per acre would trigger strict connectivity. So they don't really address the single family home and multiple access. I think you're going to find it pretty limiting.
It is.
I imagine.
But at the same token,
I mean, it's something
if
to
the plan came in as a planning commission, you always have the ability to look at that and make a recommendation. If it can go somewhere, or you can realign a road or whatever, you have the ability to say, hey, we would like an access here, can you extend this? As long as they own the property, you always have that ability. So it's one of those weird standards, it's not written, but you always have the ability to do something.
Let's be trailblazers as well.
Any other comments on this?
That's a good point.
Okay, so the plan then, as I hear it, is you're going to write some kind of a PennDOT paragraph, provision, whatever. How are we going to come up with a number? Who's going to research what to come up with a number? We're going to See,
We
we
have
do,
to look at what standards we have available from Federal Highway Commission, stuff like that, to see.
You'll take care of that, Tom?
I'll pull whatever standards I can have and itemize those with the backup and somehow.
and I don't mind if you take and, run your AI and see what it can find. Because it's amazing what it can find these days.
I'll search Pennsylvania.
Yeah. And see, because some of the stuff's not gonna be applicable, but there could be good ideas that we're just not thinking of as how to address them. But I think anything, instead of picking a random number, is gonna be beneficial to it.
If you provide for a backstop or PennDOT, the developer could go to PennDOT for an opinion, PennDOT could render an opinion whether it is safe or not safe.
Mhm.
You have a little more backstop there, I think, with whatever number you choose.
Yep.
Because it almost takes the ball out of your hands.
On the state,
Yeah.
but it doesn't fix the local roads.
Correct.
So in the local roads, we can still hold something up, because, we say, nope, you don't meet it, you can't do it. Whether it's legit or not, I don't know. Okay, then we're done with that item. We are not gonna tackle data center or any additional subdivision or zoning ordinance stuff. So, at this point, we're gonna open it up to public comment, again. Okay.
So I'm quick and short. So you were talking about the second entrance stuff, and especially coming out onto PennDOT highway. So my question was, does PennDOT have any sort of restrictions and requirements about like emergency access roads that you could potentially put removable bollards on a 2-lane wide spot? It doesn't have to be like paved. It doesn't accomplish all of your general like flow sort of things, but if a windstorm comes and knocks down a giant tree and power lines and whatever, you at least don't have 200 homes stuck. You could pop a bollard and put it out, be that small roads or PennDOT if they allow it. So just something to consider writing in as an option to at least get one of the bullets. I know it doesn't check all your bullets, but it's a potential something. Is what my right by my parents' house in their subdivision, they have an HOA sort of same sort of thing. I think they ran into the same sort of thing. We have a whole bunch of houses back here that are stuck because they're all funneling out of this entrance, and so they put a gravel access way with just removable posts on both sides, so they could at least pop them if they need to and have traffic in and out, fire trucks, ambulances, whatever. It's an access way, so just something to consider. The second thing I wanted to ask was, do both of our entrances count as 2 accesses for what you're suggesting? Or was that, does Boulevard would normally be 1 in, 1 out, but if they're designed such, they could be made 2 in, 2, or, 2 in, 2 out, and does that meet the requirements? So it's just another thing to consider. And then lastly, I was just curious if you guys had any updates on the Nussbaumer property since you brought that one up. Or is, because I just haven't,
I've heard
go
nothing.
radio silent, is that
Yeah, I've heard nothing on those phones.
just kind of went out into the
So,
dust?
do you have any comments on?
So I do, what we worked out with PennDOT on the other development where they wouldn't allow us to put a second entrance in. They did allow the developer to put in the road base gravel and then seed it. So if you're driving, it doesn't look like it's grass, but it's something you can drive on. And they said that is not a road, they wouldn't care if you did that, so that was the alternative is, everybody knows at the end of cul-de-sac, it's gonna have something that probably burns up every summer, but it will be an access point that you could use.
And it's not curved on either side, there's no trees, there's no.
Right, and so if somebody takes it, it's at their own risk, it's technically not an entrance, so they had the liability if they used it and pulled out and got hit. But PennDOT would accept that because it's not.
Would you guys be allowed to require something like that if, in the case that PennDOT doesn't allow it, or is that?
I think if it was warranted, that it made sense as you need a secondary access, PennDOT says no, this would work.
Yeah,
I think, I wouldn't see an issue with that, similar to what, Paige Place, if their trail can work as some form of an access, to me, that's acceptable, even if it comes from somebody else's lot. As long as you have a means of access, I don't think PennDOT has any issues with that, so, and
I think it also fits our definition there, request a variance due to topography hardship or no access other than blah, 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 blah. Then alternatives such as boulevards would be required. This is just like that. It's a boulevard or that, or any number of, someone can come up with a unique solution, we consider, yeah.
I mean, I would define a boulevard as one entrance, but I think it's the in-between that you can use it as two in case of emergency, so.
It's designed such that.
I asked AI, you ready? There are 2,560 municipalities in Pennsylvania, 57 in Butler County. None really, there's no database that you can search, but they say based on typical PA practice, now this is AI talking about me, 25 to 30 homes typically requires an emergency access or secondary connection, some kind of emergency get in there. 40 to 50 homes is considered full secondary access road.
Interesting.
And the maximum cul-de-sac length is 800 to 1,200 feet before you require secondary access. You can't just put 10 homes on a 1,200-foot cul-de-sac. So they do limit that long dead end type of setup. So that's just on that. I don't know how it gets all the data, but that's a first cut. I think we're in the ballpark, but I don't think there's no number. There's no Pennsylvania, what's the overarching municipal code?
The MPC?
Yeah, there's no specific requirements, I'll do a deeper dive with some stuff, but I haven't done it all. So,
Actually, just a quick comment on our language that we adopted and talked about forever. It says request a variance. Shouldn't that say waiver? Isn't it a waiver in this case, not a variance? A variance is something that would go in front of zoning hearing board. It's a waiver that would come in front of planning commission. So shouldn't that actually say waiver instead of variance? Am I correct in that?
yeah, exactly.
So minor change. Same concept.
Yeah, it's different boards.
Okay, any other public comments? Yes, Tony.
Well, a couple of questions. Do the townhome communities fall under the cluster home situation?
We don't have a cluster home.
That was addressed in the comprehensive cluster homes. And I always thought that meant single family dwellings. That's one thing. And then reading over the Seneca Hills information, there's no restriction on investors coming in and buying up these units and renting them out. I don't know if that's a concern with the township here.
I researched the law that you referenced.
Right.
I think we should probably put that in our notes, but one of the primary origins of that was to prohibit that, so an investor couldn't come in and block housing for increased prices.
21st century.
The 21st century.
Does restrict that, but.
Wait, back up, hold on. It wants to do what?
Restrict corporate entities
Okay.
from coming in and buying up
And then jacking the
units
prices up.
in plans and renting them out. So
We
that's-
did talk about.
I know this came up at the beginning of these conversation of this development, but.
I think there's some other parts of the SALDO that.
I think, didn't we talk about how many people can actually be in, or in the townhouse and like.
We did talk about that at some point, like
Yes, we did.
limited how many people.
Because of,
live there.
kind of for this reason, because like a friend of mine lives in a townhouse down south of Pittsburgh. And some of the townhouses are owned by a corporation, but there's like 10 Hispanic people living in there.
There's no restrictions at the Seneca Hills on selling the units to corporations.
Well, can you
I don't know how that falls
can you
into
do that?
took place with the township on rental units.
Is that one, I don't know if it's planning commission or board of supervisors, there was a gentleman here from D.R. Horton, and I brought that up because a number of private equity companies, they do buy them up, and like Matt said, they all claim, it's all in black and white, do your research on it, how they all come in and drive all the prices up, because they'll buy them strategically.
Was actually two concerns to that.
And that gentleman stated that they clearly do not sell to, he stated they clearly do not sell to corporations. So like if you came in and like 6 months later, you could turn around and sell it to a corporation, you know.
There are a lot of
Really, the LLC right now isn't concerned with that. Once it's turned over to D.H. Horton, how do you approach it as the township?
Well, we have no say in it, but
So
that
they
might,
can rent out 120.
well, it's correct. The township has no regulations in this whatsoever.
Transactional private.
Yeah, however, I know that we as developers always had that concern as well. And we wrote into our declaration, the HOA documents, we wrote into there that institutional investors could not invest in more than whatever it was, 50% or whatever the number was of the properties. But that was primarily not because of them driving up prices, but actually lowering the value of the community by having renters that don't care. You want homeowners that actually care about the property to keep property values up. So we put those provisions in our HOA documents to hold property values, not to increase rents. But I guess the question for the solicitor then is, can the township implement something that requires the declarant to put something in the declaration that would limit? I don't know if that can or can't.
I don't know, we'd have to take a look at that, but it feels like an overstep.
It does. I know we as an HOA, we as a declarant can certainly do it. It's our property, we're allowed.
Yeah.
I don't know if we as a township can mandate that declarant do some of that.
So, Bob, the declaration, does that go to Horton?
The declaration is done, whoever the developer. Wrigley LLC is the declarant. They write the declaration, they record the declaration. Any buyer has to abide by that declaration. The buyer would be D.R. Horton, would be buying it and have to abide by it, and then they resell, they have to abide by it.
So that has to be presented to the Wrigley people again?
What has to?
The declaration, what's in the declaration?
They write it.
Oh,
they write it, they submit it, they'll give the township a copy, but it's really none of the township's business other than, yes, you've got one, because there's certain provisions that have to be taken care of. For example, one of the reasons that HOAs exist, I would love it if you didn't have to have an HOA. I would absolutely love it. But the reason, one of the primary reasons they have to exist is someone has to maintain the stormwater systems. That falls on the HOA. That's one of the primary reasons any new development has an HOA, because that's the legal entity responsible. But they put other provisions, they put architectural provisions in, they can put percent ownership interest in, they can put all those things in. As the declarant, they can do any of those things that they want.
Mention that in
Very
municipality
detailed.
can
Does the township have
What's that?
municipality can mandate
On-
those in their
Yes.
declaration because they're enforcing local zoning, land development ordinances.
Mhm.
But to go a step further and restrict who can and cannot purchase in the HOA, that's right.
With a institutional ownership, would that elevate it to being now a commercial property instead of a residential?
No, it's just that you just have a corporation own 20 units in a development, and they are buying them purely for the intent of leasing them, selling or something, or maybe waiting and driving prices up to resell. But usually they're going to rent and they want to buy a block and rent a bunch. Tony, did you have another comment?
No, those are just things I thought, and I just asked them if it's appropriate, if you guys look into it.
It would be worth it if you guys could give us any guidance on can any provisions like that be mandated by us. I don't know if we can, but
Yeah, we could.
I know as a declarant, I like that those provisions.
Yeah.
But not all declarants.
Yeah,
behave
but
that
everybody
way.
wants them. Yeah, exactly.
Connie, you had comments.
Yeah, I have some. First off, I'm probably using the wrong word here. I can't remember what the correct term is off the top of my head. has anybody made any comment of like chicken scratch submissions or whatever for 385 Perry Highway? That's right there between Orange Woods and 19, right outside of the place. What's the proper term on that? I can't remember what it's called.
Sketch plan.
Sketch plan, thank you.
Yeah,
Nothing
no, I
fancy.
haven't seen it.
Okay. That's the one with the old Springer farmhouse that nobody's been into.
You know something?
No, I'm not normally in the know, but I've heard of it.
Okay. I heard differently, that's why I was just asking. Just so you're aware, I don't know, some may or may not be aware, but I've noticed in the last few weeks there's been multiple properties along 19 corridor that have been up for sale. There's 5 of them currently, and of those 5, one's contingent. 3 of them, they're pushing them and advertising them as commercial. And then the 4th one, they're pushing that anything can be done to the property as long as it's being advertised. So to help fix a lot of these problems with the ingress-egress and everything along the 19 corridor, easiest way to do it and help the current residents with their property values, switch it from the whole mixed use all the way to commercial. You're going to have less expense on the township and you'll have more money coming in. Just a thought of that. Comment about the HOAs. I don't know if anybody's heard this. I've been hearing this now for over a year from different states that many of the banks are not financing, not giving mortgages to homes where there are HOAs unless it's HOA guaranteed. I forget how many millions of dollars they have to have. So just something.
No, I heard that.
The scenic bridge, HOA is one thing.
That's not an HOA.
What's that?
Scenic Bridge is not an HOA. It's a COA.
It was an HOA.
It's a COA.
When did
It's a condominium association. Condominium associations are different.
Well, the
There's the difference.
all showed HOA, nothing showed COA.
But condominium associations are totally different. Yes, banks, you can often have issues getting bank money on COA.
Right, I understand, yeah, everything I've seen is HOA. And like I said, all the documents that we've come across on scenic is it's HOA, not COA.
Oh, it might say HOA,
Okay.
but the content of it is probably condominium. And as soon as it turns condominium instead of homeowners association, the rules of the game change.
How can it be condominium when there's single family homes?
Oh, you can have condominium single family. We've done it all the time, absolutely.
Never heard of that, okay.
But it's normally the quads and things like that are typically the condominium
Which I can
association.
understand that because it's quads, yeah, I can understand that. And then the other thing is, when I was trying to ask that gentleman, because I couldn't hear what he was saying for the traffic stop, that's why I asked him what his numbers were. And he said the highest daily average on the one day was at 2,800 plus 119. I said, that's awfully strange because back in 2024, the last traffic study was done on Saltworks Road. That was before Orange Woods was completed. There's 1,100 cars or more at that time traveling to and from, 119. On Sunday morning, when I was down,
On 19 you're saying, okay.
No, on Saltworks, from Saltworks to 19, there's over that much.
1,100 trips a day on Saltworks.
Yes. And that
Something
was
doesn't
before
sound
Orange
right.
was clean.
Okay.
I sat there and cut grass, okay, and I had a little clicker. And in an hour period, I counted, this was 2 years ago, 84 cars. And I missed half of them because my back was turned around, I was behind the road. Sunday morning, in 20 minutes, I was re-rocking out on the sign, I counted 42 cars. Going in and out.
It's a busy road.
Yeah, and it's not built for that, it was never built for that. Now they're running full-size school buses on it, which we were told when we were growing up, everybody had to walk that 3/4 of a mile or less down to the low
Okay.
Yeah, that's, you know, that's why I said this numbers, to me, just didn't seem right based on what I know coming on and off the SALDOs.
Any other public comment? Any comments from the rest of the board? Then I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second, we're adjourned.